What's up, people? I am so excited to tell you about NordVPN, okay? Because I travel all the time, whether it's on a cruise ship, another country, a military base. And now sometimes I can't watch the UFC because where I'm at doesn't have it. Well, now I can because NordVPN makes it so that I can watch the UFC from different territories via streaming. It lets you change your computer's location to come from anywhere in the world. How cool is that? You might be wondering, what's a VPN? Okay, I know I was. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And it's a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. It creates an encrypted tunnel for your data. It protects your online identity by hiding your IP address. It allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely. Yes, so no one will track you or hack you, yada, yada. No one likes to be watched or tracked. I don't. Even if you have nothing to hide, still, we want our privacy, which is why it's important to step up your privacy game. Whether you're browsing through a VPN, when you are doing that, okay, your traffic is encrypted so that no one can see what you're doing online, all right? I know a lot of our listeners like to, be private. I've met some of you guys, and I can understand why. Here are a few reasons why you need a VPN, okay? Use public Wi-Fi regularly. You want to access your content. You want to stay safer online, and you're an avid gamer. So you get your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/roasted. You can get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 months for free. That's the best deal ever, right? It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I am so pumped because now I can watch the fights from wherever I am. Because so many times I'm like trying to watch the fights and I'm like, it's the most frustrating thing ever. Well, now my life is going to change thanks to NordVPN. NordVPN, check it out. Highly recommend. You'll be thanking me later.
Let me bang. I do let you bang. Hey, let me bang you, man. I let you bang. I let you bang. Greetings, marriage and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No forget Jesus, people.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Hey, everybody, welcome to a brand new MMA Roasted Podcast. Me, Adam Hunter. I'm here with Sean McCorkle, the great Sean McCorkle. Man, I had a rough week. Last week, I was sick. I'm one of these people that like never get sick. So when I get sick, I get fucking sick,
Right.
So I was sick during the podcast. I had 101, 102, but I'm like, oh, I'm okay. It's not the flu. Then I had to fly. I had an audition for Quantum Leap, which I didn't get. The third time they called me in for Quantum Leap. And then one for General Hospital, which didn't get that. I did like 2 shows. Then I flew to Orlando, Florida to do, I had a 6-hour layover to do a cruise. And then they flew me to the Bahamas. Then I had to like drive to the boat. And one of those cruises where like, we don't go anywhere. I'm on the second half. Literally, I get on a boat on an island just to go, just to sail back to the, wherever I'm going. Not that I would drive on a cruise, but you understand what I'm trying to say. And then, and then I had, of course, like, I like get in, and of course, they're like, you have 2 shows tonight, a PG show and a dirty show. Like, I was so out of it after my second show. I like killed, but I was like, I didn't even know where I was. It was just one of those things. I literally like texted my friends. I felt like death. I flew to LA, cruise, Bahamas, and I had to go to court online. I go to court online to fight one of those red light tickets. And of course, they tell me like, I like didn't know I had to sign in. What's up, Bray?
Paste that message to me and all your friends?
Yeah, I wrote the same message. Well, I'm in the middle of a podcast. I just got in trouble for copying and pasting the message that I wrote to her saying how tired I was. So thanks. So then I had to they had court. So now I got like of course I'm like, it was did not attend. I attended it, but I didn't. Brie, how do I get this music off? I got little kids music playing somewhere. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so I did 5 shows on the cruise, got back, took my kid to Universal Studios, did a show. I'm literally in therapy this morning. I'm pulling out my hair. Like I have like a Brian Bosworth thing from me,
Right.
from me pulling out my hair. Like I have to stop pulling out my hair. Anyway, how are you?
Doing great. I had a similar, actually not similar at all. No, we went to San Diego over the weekend. You hooked me up with Theo Vaughn, which was awesome. Although we went to getting tickets for his show was damn near impossible, man. Like you get on, it was sold out. So you get on a secondary site and then they tell you have the tickets. Then an hour later, they tell you don't have them, but they don't it ain't like an emergency message. They're just, oh, by the way, no, you don't have tickets. And so like my girlfriend doesn't even notice that like we were going with another couple that one of the set of tickets we didn't get. And so then you get back on with them. They're like, yeah, we don't know what happened, but those tickets are gone. And they're like, okay, well, we'd really like to get like 4 together if we could. Yeah, sorry, or whatever. Like there's nothing we can do. And so you try that, you do all that. We go to the show. The line to get in his show, I think the theater sat like 1,500, 1,500, something like that. The line was around 3 different blocks. Like I could not believe how poorly that show was ran as far as the theater, not Theo's show, but the theater. Like we got there, we thought we were going to be late. It was an hour getting into the venue. It was like that slow. I was like, man, who is scanning tickets up there? Doing that. But we went. 75 people at every bar waiting to get a drink. No waitresses, no anything. It was just I don't know if theater shows are always like that, but like God, you realize how much money they miss out on. People were just giving up and just leaving, like not even getting drinks, just going because the show was starting. And you're like, you hired 4 bartenders for 1,500 people. Like I don't get it, but no, we got to meet him afterwards. It's awesome. His business manager, as you know, or road manager's name is Bizzle, and so when I hit him up, I said, hey, if you can't make it happen, man, I promise it's okay. I understand. I said, can't make it happen. I said, but at least ask me a question regardless. And he was like, okay. And so then he was like, yeah, we'll make it happen. Is it okay if you meet me up by the stage, like after the show? I said, for shizzle, Bizzle. I just wanted to say that. So I went and asked me a question, and I just kept saying it to him the entire time, like for shizzle, Bizzle, and everything he would say. And I could tell it was like unfunny after the 3rd time. So we're proud for the 1st time. So he's taking us back to see Theo, and I said, man, a lot of Theo's stuff was new, man. Like tonight, all his jokes because it was after the show. I said I hadn't heard any of that material before. I said normally when I hear Theo's stuff, I hear it twice anyway because usually Brendan Schaub sitting right next to him repeating his punchlines. I said it's tough. He started laughing. He goes, yeah, I don't really know Schaub that well. And I was like, dude, you are missing some cutting edge comedy. I said you need to look him up tonight. You need to sign him immediately if you're managing comedians. And he was like, oh, really? Kind of like. So we get back there and Theo's just like he is, like same dude that you see on podcasts. It's funny, like that same guy, a lot taller than I thought he would be. I wanted to say, I thought you'd be bigger like Roadhouse, but I figured he wouldn't get it because he had a mullet like Patrick Swayze or whatever. But so I debated, my girlfriend was kind of telling me not to do it. I've debated this, but I don't know. I like to, how I am. So I get back there and I introduced everybody. He's real cool. And I said, man, we don't want to take much of your time. We just want to take a picture with you. He goes, no, it's fine. You sit down. And I said, I said, I know this is inappropriate time, but I did have something I wanted to pitch you real quick. I said, you probably get hit with shit like this all the time, but I had a quick pitch for you if you wouldn't mind. And I could tell he's like, oh, God, dude, like what'd you do to me? Or whatever. And I said, this is what I'm thinking, man. I said, I'm watching your show. I'm thinking he's got a huge audience. Show's sold out. He's got fans already. He's funny. He's got everything you need. He's already in podcasting. I said, here's what I thought about doing, man. I said, I'm kind of like a washed up borderline CTE UFC fighter. I'm not funny. I have no talent or ability to do anything. I said, like nothing. I'm not funny. I'm not good at anything. I have no funny stories. I have nothing. I said, but I figure maybe we'll do a podcast together. And I said, and you can like bring all the fans and get all the jokes, and I'll just repeat your punchlines every time you say them. I'll just repeat your punchline. And I said, and then we'll like split the money 50-50. And I said, like, you can even have to fly out to Indianapolis to do it. Like when you do it, I said, like, we'll call it the King and the Parrot. How's that sound? And he knew about 3/4 of the way in. He knew where I was going with it. I could see the look on his face. But at first, I could see the look when I said I had a pitch for him. As I started going, you got fans. I'm hitting with all the stuff. And I could see even my girlfriend and the people with us are like, this is inappropriate. Like, this is not the time to do this, thinking I'm really going to pitch him that we're going to do something together, or whatever. But about 3/4 of the way, his business manager lost it. Bizzle started cracking up because he knew what he knew before Theo did, I think, because I've been trashing Schaub. But I said, of course, you already did that with Schaub. So I guess he'd just be doing a rerun. But I don't know, something to think about. And then I just told him I was just kidding. And then we got in the elevator to go down to the stage to take a picture. And he said, Dominic Cruz came to my show last night. I said, did he? He said, yeah. He goes, he almost fell off the stage. Like, we were standing there. He said he almost weren't paying attention. He almost fell off the stage. I said, damn, that's even faller for him. Like a longer fall for him with how little he is. He goes, yeah. I said, yeah, he always struck me as gay. And then it was just quiet, like nobody said anything, like not him or anybody. It just got like just dead silence. And then we're like, okay, say cheese. Like we all took the picture with us. But right before we took the picture, the last thing that said is, yeah, he always struck me as gay.
You really are like Larry David, man. Like there's such a Larry David quality of like just what not to say. Me and Theo became friends when I moved here, I don't know, 20 years ago. I met Theo. He maybe had like 5 minutes of material. And I was running this Westwood Brewing Company. This like basically, I moved out to LA. I had nowhere to perform, and I was getting up all the time in New York. So I walked around UCLA pretending that I had a comedy club. I found a bar, and I told people Chris Rock was going to be there and Chappelle. I even sold tickets. They kicked me off UCLA campus, but then I realized that the sorority houses, anyone could just go in there and make an announcement. Like on Monday nights, they had their formal dinner, but they didn't like say you had to go to the school. So I would go every Monday and make an announcement and be like, hey, we're having a comedy show. We got this person. Meanwhile, none of these people were going to be there, right? Like, but the place only held like 35 people. And I would bring Theo with me because they knew him from Road Rules. And that gave me like instant credibility. These girls got so annoyed with me. At one point, they had a super soaker aimed at my head when I came to the door. That's how mad. But then like, I took that very personal. I was like, it's fucked up. Then I ended up banging a couple of those girls. Like I dated a couple of them and I banged them in the sorority house. And it was like kind of a win for me. But Theo, one time we were at the Westwood Brewing Company and someone was like, Theo, Road Rules. And he goes, I'm going to fuck you in the asshole. Like that was what he said back to him.
That's an odd reply.
The guy was like, what? And then like, dude, then we did a college together one time at like Penn State, and it was like outside. There was like a wedding going on, and the comedy club. Eddie If was up, and there was like crickets. He goes, "This is the only comedy show you could actually hear actual crickets. Like there were crickets." And then,
that's awesome.
And all the girls were there, like, "Oh, Theo's here!" So they all run in, and Theo had like literally 4 minutes. He's like, "My penis is crooked." These girls were so fucking horrified by his crooked penis. And then I booked me and Theo at this like college one time. We got like $5,000. Me, him, Dan Levy, Steve Hofstetter. We did this tour, and then Theo got mad at me. Like I fucked up. Like we were friends, and some people like to wrestle, some they don't. Like you wrestle with friends. Well, I hit him in a single leg takedown and took him down. He got really mad, but I was just like fucking around. But I could tell I went overboard. Like I shouldn't have done that. Like that. Like if I ever saw him and like, but I would see Theo every day at Starbucks, just literally writing for hours a day. Like Theo, I mean, everything that happened to him I'm happy for him because he really has worked hard. He took no shortcuts,
no, that's what he said. It was because obviously he's not going to say anything bad about Brendan, but I said I don't mean to give you a hard time about Shaw. I said he just sucks real bad. I said so I know he's your buddy or whatever, and he goes, the only thing Theo said, he goes, man, he said he's got a long road ahead of him like this comedy. He says comedy stuff is brutal, man. He said a lot of people don't know. They think it's just getting up and talking. He said it is an up and down, brutal world, man. He said just disappointment after, like basically like you're saying, kicking the balls after you guys. I don't know how, dude. And I'm obviously twice the size of an average person, but we were flying back from San Diego into San Diego. There I had an exit row, which was fine. But on the way back, I was sitting there thinking, I don't know how you guys do that stuff, flying all the time like that. It had been so long since I flew somewhere, and I got to go to Germany next month. Like I almost canceled my Germany thing with my back because I'm like, I'm not sitting in a plane for 20 hours. Like I'm not doing this. This is like, you can't move. Everybody's rude. Everybody stinks. Everybody, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I'm like, don't you guys shower before you go on a flight somewhere? You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable. And it's like planes are getting smaller. I don't know if that's a new thing, man, or what, but like planes have less room or less leg room, but it's, I don't know how you guys, that fly all the time like that. That would drive me crazy, man. Like,
dude, the worst is when I get middle seats because they booked the flight for you for like these cruises. I'm always in a middle seat, and then people take my armrest. So now what do I do? Do I like shove them off? Like what am I? So I'm sitting there like this, and especially if it's a girl or something, I'm like, I'm not gonna be like, but it's just like, come on. There was one time I almost got into a fight with a guy. I was going on a flight, and this Asian dude was like, I was looking at my phone, and he was like. And the guy called my name. We were going onto the plane. He's like, move, asshole, or something. I go, what? He goes, yeah, move. Yeah. Pay attention or something. I go, when we get off this flight, I will fuck you up. Right. So then then the whole flight, I'm sitting there And there's this like cool black guy next to me and his mom. And he's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. This guy, like, I think he was like quasi a celebrity because we became friends on Instagram, and him and his mom were just laughing at the fact that I was. Right. But then at the end, I'm like, "What am I going to do? Beat him up at an airport? Like, you're going to find an airport, you're going to fly again. Like, you're fucked." Especially in my profession, like,
dude,
you're like
I had the cops call on me about a couple of years ago. I had the cops call on me. This guy, I got mad because it's when I was flying out to see my girlfriend who lived in San Diego at the time, so I wasn't in a much mood to fly all the time. But we were flying to San Diego. It's a long flight from Indianapolis, so. This guy that's working the thing said, oh, no, your flights. I heard him give 3 different reasons why I couldn't fly at that time. I'd have to fly later on the day to people in front of me. Oh, you should know. You brought a heavy bag. Those have to be loaded an hour and a half before. Oh, no, this and that. And what it is they'd oversold the flight. They were just lying. They had a new reason. So he go up there. He goes, oh, sir, no, your thing has to be on the bag an hour, or has to be on the thing an hour before. Your bag has to be on the belt an hour before. And I said, well, when did that start? And he was like, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, I said, my mom dropped me off. I'll have her come back and get it. I'll just do my carry-on, and I'll still take on this flight. And he was like, well, no, sir. I mean, that's not going to work. I said, no, it's good. I got to go and check. I won't check it back. I'm fine. And he's like, well, sir, the thing is, he comes up with some other reason, or whatever. And really what it was oversold. And so I said, dude, let me ask you a question. I said, last month, I got here 5 minutes late. Like, you had to have your bag, I'm thinking 45 minutes before. I got here like 5 minutes late, and most of that was waiting in your line. And I got charged $250 to change my flight because I was late. You know what I mean? I said, you guys give me $250 because you're changing my flight now to a flight 3 hours later in the day. Because I said, I have to sit here for 3 hours now, wait to take a flight now. And he was like, sir, are you threatening me? And I was like, threaten? Like what? Like, am I threatening you? And I said, no, I'm asking you, can I have my $250 back because you guys stole $250 from me last month when I was 5 minutes late. You're delaying me 3 hours now, which means I'm going to miss the wedding that me and my fiance are going to, or my girlfriend at the time. And it's your guys' fault. And I said, I told you I wouldn't take a bag. I wouldn't anything. I still can't get on the plane, And he said, I'm calling the police. I said, call him. Shit. So he calls the cops, and the cops come up and like, sir, keep your hands where you can see him, like freaking out. So I said, dude, this is all that happens. And some cop comes up and goes, wait a minute, is it Brian again? Brian from American Airlines again. He's like, yeah. He goes, you're fine, sir, or whatever. He said, go ahead. He goes over and he goes, he said, if you call the cops and like call us again, like, because the guy's a nut, just call the cops. So I put this story on Facebook. 3 days later, I've got a guy said, hey, bro, I got you. Don't worry about it. And I said, I don't know what that means, but please don't get me. Because it always ends up with me arrested or in jail or in trouble. Like when the guy, the Jesse Parsley guy, when they got me by harassing him online, putting gay ads for him on Craigslist, and I got charged with harassment via computer network and had to pay a lawyer $5,000, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Wow. This
guy goes, no, I got it. He goes, watch this, bro. He sends me a video of him going up, he's flying to ask for that guy by name, Brian from American or whatever, because he had sent me a picture and said, is it this guy? Like a couple days before, I said, yeah, that guy's an asshole. Apparently he was flying somewhere. He asked for him. He's got this all on video. The guy comes up and he asked him, said, I want to see if I can check this. And the guy goes, yeah, you got to do this. He goes, are you threatening me? He says it to the guy, to the guy working there. And the guy's like, I'm sorry. Like the guy working there, he goes, are you threatening me, sir? He says it to the guy working at Brian at American. And he goes, no. He goes, I want to see your supervisor right now. So supervisor, now what's going on? He goes, he's threatening me. Brian has been threatening me this whole time, or whatever. And he said, I have it on tape. I'm going to press charge or whatever. The Brian guy's like, he goes, Brian, get to my office. Sir, I am so sorry. Brian didn't do anything that time. Like he didn't the guy just did that to get back at him. He said he was going to this and that. Like he sent me a video. He said, don't worry, I got you, bro. I was like, dude, some of these guys are too good to be true. I didn't know this guy. He's just a fan, I guess, helping me out. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So yeah, he's like, I got you, bro. I was like, please don't get me. Because every time they say that, it ends up being me in trouble with the police. So. By
the way, one funny story about Bruco, the Western Brewing Company. So, Godfrey, funny comic, Godfrey, he used to be like the 7-Up guy. He's been a friend of mine forever, right? We were on, True Life, I'm going to be a comic together, right? So anyway, so he was like annoyed by all the UCLA kids because it was a free show. So you got a bunch of these kids that just like, make me laugh, asshole. They would heckle. And we had good comics there. We had like Dane Cook at the time and the Wayans brothers and, what's his name would come, Jeff Ross, all these comics would come. So Godfrey, like his mom just passed away. So he was in a really bad, dark place in his life. So he asked me, he's like, so he comes down to do the show and he goes on there and there's no stage at this point. We didn't have a stage at that point. And there's 30 kids in a room upstairs. It's like a bar upstairs in this like other room, right? Like there's like two, a big room, a small room. So Godfrey goes, he's being funny, but he goes to these guys, who the fuck would fuck you guys? These like frat guys. And the kid goes, your mother, right?
Oh, man.
So then Godfrey puts the mic in the mic stand, and I guess he's just taking a jiu-jitsu class for the first time or something, or some
Right.
So he goes and he tackles the guy and starts choking the guy out, right? But the guy has like on the ground with the guy, and the guy has like 4 friends who get up and start punching Godfrey. Luckily, none of them knew how to punch.
Right.
Now I'm running the show. It's like 1:00 in the morning on a Tuesday or something. I'm like, fuck. So I get up and I just start taking people and throwing them off Godfrey, like launch.
Right.
My first instinct is to start cracking people, but I'm like, I'm gonna lose the show. And Godfrey's still in the wrong for putting his hands on this guy. I know that,
Right.
even though the guy's an idiot saying your mother. So now I'm throwing. So now like all this shit's going on. Like Godfrey's rolling around with this kid. I'm throwing people off Godfrey. Like the other comics are like in the back. Tables get thrown. The whole thing. The cops come up.
Theo gets single legged. Now he's mad at that guy for single legging him.
The fucking cops come and they're like, what happened? And I was like, they attacked him because he's black, right? Like I completely said they attacked because I needed the show to keep going, right? And then they're like, oh, that's horrible. And they're like, Godfrey, do you want to press charges? And he's like, no, I'm okay, right? So then we keep the show going. We still haven't.
That's a little tough to recover from the mood.
So
I
go, Godfrey, you want to go back up? He's like, I'm good.
You still got 5 minutes left, bro. Come on, finish your set. Oh God, that's crazy, man.
Meanwhile, I was thinking about you. I read this book. I don't read books. I should read more books. I made a commitment. I'm gonna read more books, right? So I read the Matthew Perry autobiography. You read this thing? Dude, I thought you had Matthew Perry from Friends, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Did you ever watch Friends as a kid, or?
I know who he is, but no, I never saw it very much. Yeah.
So this guy Chandler, right? So he's this guy that like he obviously had a lot of problems. He was a colic baby growing up, and they gave him something to like put him to sleep. Like back in the day, they would give you stuff that like it was the same stuff that was in the stuff he got hooked on later on in life, right? But his parents split up. His mom worked for Trudeau's dad. And actually, he beat up Justin Trudeau, as like a kid. He was like,
really? That's awesome. That sounds too hard, but that's awesome.
He was an amazing tennis player. His dad was the Old Spice guy. His dad was an actor. They like split up. His mom was a beauty queen. She was 21. She had him. So then he comes to LA when he's 15 years old.
Well, of course, his mom's a beauty queen. She's married to the Old Spice guy. That's naturally.
So like, eventually, this guy like. He almost didn't get friends because he was on like some show that was like the worst show ever. It was called like LAX Aliens. It was about like aliens that worked the baggage claim at like the airport at LAX. And he was like the lead in it, right? So he got like 20 grand, but he like helped all these people to get friends. The last thing was Chandler was the last part cast. He got Chandler, right? Next thing you know, he's on top of the world, right? It's the #1 show. Right. But meanwhile, he's been drinking the whole time. He's an alcoholic. So then he gets a jet ski accident, fucks up his back. They give him a pill, like an Oxycontin. Or is Vicodin and Oxy, are they two different things, Vicodin and Oxy?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, different chemicals. Oxy works better. But
pretty sure they gave him Oxy. He said within a year, he was taking 55 a day. 55 Oxy a day. Dude, the guy's been in rehab 65 times. He made $80 million for Friends, but he spent $7 million so far on like he would go look for houses and then clear out people's medicine cabinets and look through their pills. This is how fucking much of an addict this guy was on. You felt bad for him because he seemed like he was hilarious, by the way. Except for the fact that he kept saying like he was in a movie with River Phoenix, and he's like, why River was an amazing guy. He's like, why has River died and Keanu Reeves is still with us? He doesn't like Keanu Reeves for some reason. Like, but I don't know what he has against Keanu. Like, but the dude
how would you hate Keanu Reeves of all people? That's a weird person.
He kept saying, like, I don't know why I think with Keanu Reeves, but man, he has a colostomy bag because his colon exploded because he was so backed up from all the pills he was taking. I guess the pills make you so you can't shit. They make you constipated. And
apparently, 55 a day, I would guess something's gonna happen.
He was in a coma for 3 weeks, this dude. And now he said he thought that like fame and money would be the solution to happiness. And he's like, you don't believe it until you have it. And then you realize it's not, which.
Dude, I've said for years that I was a millionaire, not multimillionaire, but I had money at 28. And I was always so glad I found out. I mean, enough money, I never had to work again if my ex-wife wasn't so crazy and expensive and ruined my life. But I was glad I found out early that it's amazing. The difference between making $100,000 a year and $500,000 a year isn't really that much. You know what I mean? Even at 28 years old, like if when you go on vacation, you spend $600 a night for a hotel instead of $200 a night. You know, like your dining room table's $10,000 instead of $1,000. But that and what little bit of fame I did have, which was very mild, obviously, especially in UFC, because that fame doesn't translate to money like it does in most places. Fame equals money to some degree. In UFC, it's the exact opposite. Like, you can't pay your mortgage in Twitter followers. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work. But I found both. I think that's what happened. I always say, my son asked me one day, why do people get rich and famous to go crazy? I said, I think because if you spend your whole life thinking, if I could just be rich or if I could just be famous, I'd be happy. And then you get it and you're not happy. And you have, what else is there? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else is there. And then you're snorting cocaine off a stripper's ass, you know what I mean? Or whatever, like before, a lot of people don't have to get rich and famous to do that. But no, like I think that's where it ends up, man, is just some craziness, but it really doesn't. Joe Rogan said the same thing. He said when he first got his first apartment, he was like, dude, I would be happy with this the rest of my life. Like, when he got his first money off whatever show he was on.
Right.
Yeah, or whatever, the news radio. He said, I never thought I'd have an apartment like this. And he said, after he'd been living there for like 6 months, he was like, that's just his house. It's just my house. And then when you buy a house that's nice, you're like, dude, this is enough for me. I never thought. I realized once you get 20 acres and 7 dogs, then you're finally happy. That's what I found. Once you get.
He said, he was saying he has friends that live in a recreational place that never made it. He's like, I would trade places with them any day of the week. I mean, talk about a guy in pain. Because he should be dead. Like he would drink to the point where, just bottles of whiskey, bottles, and he's like, he doesn't even get drunk anymore. He's like, after 55 pills, he doesn't even feel it anymore. How many pills were you up to at one point?
Well, dude, that's what cracks me up, man. Is people all the time, like people will. For me, I guess it's different. I don't drink really. I mean, maybe once or twice a year ever. I don't smoke weed ever. I don't do anything. And that's what offends me so bad when I took something for pain, or when people act like, you sure you don't have a problem? I'm like, well, I've never had a problem with anything in my life. I don't take 20 Advil a day because I'm a drug addict. It's because my back hurts. But I did have a doctor tell me one time, he said, when you're in extreme pain, like I am, he said, you're not getting the buzz you would get if you weren't in pain when you're taking, like after surgery and you take a pill, you're not getting a buzz because it's just covering up the pill. So it like keeps you equal, but I literally going, taking them or not taking them on and off or whatever. I wouldn't give you a nickel for all of them if my back would just quit hurting. Like it does. I don't like the feeling. I don't like being, even if you give me something really strong, I guess I haven't tried enough of them to find the one I like. Everybody always told me don't try cocaine because everybody loves cocaine, which I never tried. I've never tried mushrooms. I've never done, anything. I've never taken anything. Literally, the only thing I've ever taken is stuff for pain for my back. And if I don't have enough that will stop the pain, I won't even take it. You know what I mean? Like that's how I am. Like a lot of people have to have it, like no matter what or whatever. If it's not enough to stop the pain, I'll just wait. You know what I mean, or whatever. Because I don't know. I've been very blessed. My dad never drank, never did any drugs. My mom never did any drugs. It's weird because I've got a brother who's a raging alcoholic and a brother that's a drug addict, and it doesn't make any sense because my one brother doesn't really drink at all. He's half brother, but I didn't drink the first time until I was 25 years old. Never liked it. It wasn't my thing. I've never smoked a cigarette. Like weeds, I tried weed for my back. I tried eating it, drinking it, smoking, tried everything. And when it didn't help, I quit taking it. I don't know. I don't like I said, if I tried cocaine, I'm sure I would love it. Everybody says it's the greatest thing ever, but I've always stayed away from anything.
I've done it twice before. I hated it because it got me a little high, but then the next day I felt like beyond depressed.
That's what they always say. The low is never worth. Yeah. I had a girl tell me one time. It was actually sad. She was a really sweet girl, but she got hooked on. She was with this fighter kid who was a nut, ended up killing himself. But she got first. They start snorting cocaine, then they start smoking it, then they start injecting it. And she said, when you start injecting cocaine, the high is unlike anything you can ever even begin to describe. She said it is the happiest you've ever been in your life like she said, it is combined Christmas morning when you're 5 years old with the first time you had sex, with the first time, like whatever, like everything you can imagine. She said the low coming off of it when you're doing that is suicidal thoughts 24 hours a day. You want to die every minute of every day, and I said that would be enough. The first low would be enough for me to never want to do it again. But it's I've just been very fortunate, man. And it's not because I'm some great or disciplined person. Like I've never had a substance problem. I just don't like it. I've never done anything. And that's what drives me crazy when doctors start, or that I'm making it up. That's the other thing that insinuates. We're like, well, maybe, there's psychological problem there. Maybe you're in psychological pain. I'm like, really? The lower left side of my back is my psychological pain? That's strange. That's a strange thing to have. But I don't even think about taking a pain pill until my back starts hurting. Like, so if maybe I'll take, like, if I had extended release one, I take one, and it's only supposed to last 6 hours, but it doesn't start really hurting for 12. I don't think about taking one at 6 hours. It doesn't even cross my mind. It's always when all of a sudden it starts really, really hurting. I'm like, oh, it's time to take my, like painkiller or whatever. But it sucks. I feel like it's terrible for people like that, though, man, that do suffer with it, because it's.
You got to read this.
It's got to be.
This book's happened to be a great book. Dude, he said he was engaged. He woke up one day. He was engaged, living with a woman, and he had like 2 dogs. He doesn't know how he got there. Like, he doesn't remember proposing to her. He barely knew the girl. Like.
Golly, man. Well, you barely know your wife when you meet her or when you marry her anyway. I found that out the hard way. My dad used to always tell me before I got married, you're not going to meet your wife till you're in it about a year. He said, all you've met is the representative she sent in to close the deal. He said, that's who you've met so far. And he said, I was like, no, Dad, I've noticed since I was 8 years old. He goes, you won't meet her until about 2 years in. That's when, then he goes, and then when you have a kid with her, then you'll really meet her, because then she's really got you by the balls, like that's.
Yeah, it's like Louis C.K. had a joke about that. He's like, he goes, when you're married, you're like, I can't leave. Then you have a kid, you're like, I could have left.
That's it. The more you have, the further they got you by the balls, man. But it's I don't know, man. I tell my son all the time, I beg him to wait till he's 30 to get married. I'm like, man, listen, I even tell him on college, everybody else pushes their kid, do this, do that. I'm like, dude, have fun in college. Take 12 credit hours a semester. Take 5 years instead of graduating in 4 so you can get good grades and have fun. I played basketball in college. And it took all the fun out of it, man. Like, they own you 40 hours a week playing basketball. So I had no time for anything but basketball or schoolwork, and it was, I hated it. I hated every minute of it. But my dad begged me not to get married until I was 30. He said, there's no pressure to achieve. There's no pressure. You don't have anybody to feed. You don't have anybody you're responsible for. If you don't have a kid, you don't get married till you're 30. And then he said, marry somebody 8 to 10 years younger than you, because men age better than women. All stuff that I would find out later in life was true. But then again, I also had to look out for the penis conspiracy. I think I told you about that, right?
Yes.
Like a couple times ago, my dad was telling me everything's shaped like a penis. So, like, you, great advice. I told you about that, right? How we had to. Did we talk about that? Like, had me paranoid. They're trying to turn me gay by everything being shaped like a dick. That's what I'm afraid of. And instead, I'm not listening about not getting married early. Like,
I asked my dad, I'm like, did you know it wasn't going to work with my stepmom? He's like, I knew at the wedding it wasn't going to work, but she had nice furniture.
Right.
I was like, yeah. Thanks, Dad. What's up, people? BetOnline.ag. Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events. You can bet the NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code CLNS50 to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Check it out.
You said when or because she had nice furniture?
Because she had nice furniture. No. He goes, I knew it wasn't going to work, but she had nice furniture.
Oh, I thought you said that's how you know it would work, because she already had nice furniture.
No, he said he said he stayed in the. He was telling me. But that was the mess. He told me before he moved. He had an apartment that he sold to 2 different people, and then he moved out before they realized they both bought it from him.
Right. Yeah. That's that happens sometimes. People do that. That's great. The double sell. I was funny. I had a neighbor when I first moved in to my very first house I bought. I was 19 or 20 years old. And he was this real old man who liked to talk all day long. And like, I mean, he never stopped. And you couldn't understand him. He'd just be like, hey, and I was like, okay. Like, I don't know what that means, and his dog would bark all the time. He'd always go, Puppy, no. Like he called his dog Puppy. So I'd say, Puppy, no. So I told him I was putting up a privacy fence down one side because I had pit bulls back then. And they were only $1,000 pit bulls, not $10,000 pit bulls, but I had a couple pit bulls back then. And I was going to put a privacy fence down the one side that already had a chain link fence. And he was like, rah, 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 which I took to mean him saying, he told me that was half his fence. He paid for half of that fence. So he didn't want me to take it down. And I'm like, well, I'm putting a privacy fence up. So if you don't want me to take that down, I can leave it. But that seems odd. And he was like, he didn't want me on his property, putting the privacy fence up because he wanted his thing. So I said, okay. So I just put the ugly side facing him, like the post facing him, the ugly side, and put up a privacy fence. And then he comes and he was devastated. I see him out there, like he like looks and look, but the posts are facing me. I said, you said I couldn't come on your property. I couldn't put the good looking side towards you. So that's just what you get. So I saw him out there for a month. He was out there with a little hatchet, hitting the little things, trying to take down that fence by himself, like an 80-year-old man. And I was like, I offered to do it. I offered to put up the nice fence. You didn't want to do it. So you and Puppy over there take down your little fence. And it took him forever. But my brother, I have a real funny brother. He said, he goes, you made him become Wilson. And I didn't know what that meant, but he was like talking about that home improvement show, how Wilson was always behind the privacy fence. Because now I couldn't see him. All I could see was the top of his head, and he goes, dang, he turned him into Wilson. And so my brother, anytime he'd come over, he'd be like, hey, what's up, Wilson? Like he'd say it to the old man. The old man didn't know what it meant. I had no idea what it meant. And then sometimes my brother would also yell out, Puppy, no, like just like the old man when the dog would bark. And we had my brother was something else. I got a brother that's I'll tell you about sometime. He's I don't think you've ever heard the stories about him. He's on another planet. So
oh God. By the way, I was making the other comic laugh on the cruise. Nice guy, because there was a guy from New York who's like this like thug comic who goes around beating up comics. He's like a real bully of a comic. And
his name Godfrey?
No, not Godfrey. But this guy's like, so he on my Facebook a couple years ago, it was like right when COVID happened. It was a happy birthday. It was my birthday. Happy birthday. So he writes, I was watching your Tonight Show set. You stole my fucking joke. When I see you, it's on, right? So I text a guy and I hit him up on Facebook. I go, what joke? He goes, you know what you did? I go, dude, I honestly, I haven't seen you do comedy in 22 years. I have not seen you. And then even then, I would never see him. I would only see him outside of comedy club, like beating people, threatening people. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I write 10,000 jokes. Most of them are like 6 words long. There's a good chance like we had a similar joke. It's just shit happens, right? I go, what joke? What? Oh, what? I go. He goes, I'm gonna fuck you up when I see you. I go, all right, man. Like, I go, I'm not afraid of you. Oh, really? You don't be afraid. Blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm not afraid of you, dude. Like, I go, listen, finally I had enough. Because he kept saying, keep that same energy, motherfucker, and then call me the N-word and this and that. So I was like,
which is absolutely unacceptable in these days. No one calls a white guy an N-word and gets away with it.
So I was like, all right, man, look, I trained at Henzo Gracie's gym. Here's the address. It was on Wilshire. The time I was doing kickboxing, I was doing Muay Thai. I go, I'm there every Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5. When you come to LA, show up, call me, sign a waiver, and we'll fight. Right. And my friend who's black was like, wait, you said what? I go, sign a waiver. He goes, that is the whitest shit I've ever heard in my life. He goes, you said sign a waiver? I go, yeah, I'm not being sued to fucking get, we'll sign if he gets hurt. If I get hurt, well, he goes, I'm going to do that on stage. I go, go ahead. He goes, he laughed for like an hour about me saying sign a waiver. He thought that was the funniest fucking, dude, he was dying laughing. That, and there was a comic that got kicked off the cruise, a white comic for saying the N-word in his act. It was like it was on TMZ, right? Like, and I like know this guy. The guy's name is Rob O'Reilly, and like he was a good comic. I actually got mad at him a couple years ago because during my show at the Bruco, he like got another night and was promoting his show to my people in the crowd during the show, and I was like, you can't do that, dude. Then he apologized like 10 years later. He's like, yeah, man, I'm really sorry. I was new to LA. Oh, cool. Anyway, so now he got kicked off Carnival, right?
Then he's like, but if you want to sign a waiver, we can handle this. And he was like, nah, it's all good, man. It's cool.
So there's like 5 or 6 black comedians that like there's a lot more, but I called and I called like Ty Barnett. I called Mike Estime. I go, hey man, and I pretended I was Rob. I'm like, hey man, this is Rob. I don't know if you heard what happened. They were all mad, like, oh hi Rob. They were fucking pissed. I go, listen, I said the N-word on stage and people are mad, and I noticed that you say it too in your act. Can you sign can you sign a piece of paper saying that you give me permission to use the N-word in my I'm trying to get signatures, right? And I'm wondering if you could sign this saying that it's okay. They're like, wait, what? They're like, but I'm black. I'm like, yeah, but we're both comedians, and if you could just sign this, and they're like, no, I'm not fucking signing that. You like start screaming at me, like.
That's awesome. I assume you later told them you were joking, right?
Yeah. I go, it's me, Adam Hunter. They're like, motherfucker. They're like, man, I'm like, what? They're like, man, they were dying laughing. They're like, you got me. You like, fucking dying.
You called up, Michael Richards to see if you have his permission at the very least. Say it because he's done it. But that waiver story is funny because I didn't know that was the widest thing to ever. I've told 100 people who were going, I used to get messages all the time. You're lucky this, you're lucky that. And I'd be like, dude, just come sign the waiver at my jiu-jitsu school so I don't get in trouble. We can just fight whatever rules you want. Literally, if you want to do, because they're like, yeah, so jiu-jitsu or UFC ain't a street fight. I'm like, you can write, we can agree, we can bite each other, we can poke each other's eyes, we can stab each other, whatever rules you want. I'm completely fine with whatever rules you want. Like if you want to bring guns, if you want like whatever you want to go, we can do. But you have to sign a waiver because I'm not getting sued for beating you up, because it does happen. I mean, you see those videos online where guys go and challenge somebody, they beat the shit out of them, you know what I mean, or whatever, and then they want to sue them, or whatever. So I said, we can sign a waiver, but yeah, that's no one has yet to ever do it. They usually hit me up and apologize, say they were drunk and sorry, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. I'm just saying, like, but my favorite one was always, no, you ain't going to see it coming then. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's the one. I'm not going to see it coming. They're just going to come up and you're going to fight me, but I'm not going to see it coming. So you're what, going to sucker punch me, but you're telling me ahead of time? Like, I don't get, like,
after I said sign a waiver, the guy called me up, the comic, and was like, motherfucker, you don't know who I am. And I'm like, bro, I don't care who. I go, listen, dude, if you want to fight, we can fight. And either you'll win or I'll win. But at the end of the day, I still didn't take your joke. So it's not, right. I'm like, all we're going to accomplish is the fight. And then once I said that to him, he's like, all right, man, I guess great minds think alike. And, and then he's like, if I ever come to LA, let's go out for a drink. Because like, it was completely squashed, it was like, because
what joke did he think do you remember what joke he think you stole or not?
I have no idea. He never told me the joke. Like,
how can he get mad at you? You're going to tell you what joke he thinks you stole. Like,
no, I don't know what joke. I honestly don't even know what joke. I'd have to go watch.
That's probably when he needs material. He probably just does that. Like what joke did I steal? Well, tell me one of yours, and I'll tell you if it's the one. Like, whatever. Like, that's how you write the material.
Comic. I don't even know. I can't even. I've never even seen his act. I don't. I can't tell. I go, dude. I can't tell you one joke you tell. That also pissed him off. But I'm like, it's the truth.
Right. The worst is when you think. I used to think I come up with jokes all the time. Like I would and I had subconsciously heard them while listening to a podcast, sleeping or something. Like I thought I came up with. They always say laughter is the best medicine, but in my opinion, if you're diabetic, go with insulin. Right? Like that was like I thought it was a great joke. And then I hear Norm Macdonald say it like in 1989 on some show he was or something he was doing. I was like, dude, I heard that years ago when I was a teenager probably and thought it was funny and then somehow thought I made it up later on, like 20 years later. But some guy told me that I stole a joke from Eddie Murphy Raw, which is the worst joke ever. I was driving one time and it said your car or your door is ajar when I opened up the door. And I was like, a stupid car. It's a door, not a jar. Like I wrote that on Twitter, just being dumb. And guy said, oh, that's Eddie Murphy Raw. You stole that. And I'm like, dude, I didn't steal that. And I don't think Eddie Murphy would make that lame of a joke. And it made me so mad. I watched all of Eddie Murphy Raw to make sure that joke wasn't in there. And it wasn't in there. Like it wasn't. I don't know if the guy was just messing with me. But I was like, dude, I don't. If there's anything, if I steal a joke, I say I stole it. Like I tell people ahead of time, I stole it, whatever. But I watched all of Eddie Murphy Raw figure, and he's like up there talking about crazy shit. And I'm like, when is he going to say his car? And Eddie Murphy Raw, when did cars say your car door is ajar? 1986? When it, like, you know what I mean? Like cars didn't talk back then besides, Michael Knight's car, Knight Rider. But besides that, Kid talked. But,
we'll go back to all this. You watched the fights last week?
Who was it? I don't even remember. Who was fighting?
Amanda Lemos fought Marina Rodriguez. She stopped her.
No.
She had her pretty much. I thought it was one of those things, like it was a main event. The other girl both girls were good. So the girl Rodriguez was getting tagged and turned away to like walk away. And then the ref stopped it. You know, sometimes when girls get punched in the face, or even guys, they'll turn away and like walk almost like, and then protest the stoppage. Which, if you turn away, and it's like you don't want to fight anymore, you know.
That'd be weird. Unless, I mean, I've seen guys that are tired do it, like walk and act like, try to look cool walking off when they're tired for a second just to catch their breath. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting hit and you do it, you got to think they're gonna. That's what they do when you against Struve. When I went to roll, I was trying to give up my back so he quit punching me in the face because he had me mounted and I couldn't defend myself. I was just taking shots to the face, and I was like, I would rather have him try to choke me because I can survive. You know, there's only like 40 seconds left. So I go to roll to give up my back, and I get stuck sideways. Now he's got me mounted sideways, and he's elbowed me in the side of the head, and I can't get back to my back or to my stomach. I can't go either way. I'm like going back, and I'm stuck. And so then it looked like I was just giving up, and they stopped it. But I was like, I couldn't blame them because I was like, I was gassed anyway, though. But I was like, I got stuck trying to give my back up. So yeah, it's when you turn away like that, you got to think that's what what the ref's thinking, you know, that you're stopping. So
Neil Magny beat Daniel Rodriguez. That was Greg called it. I mean, Magny won this fight. He like stopped him with a Darce. D-Rod is one of those guys who he started when he was 25. So I think it's just like he's gonna look good against a lot of guys, but against those guys with 50 fights, it's one of those things where,
especially guys now that are starting so young, man. It's crazy. Guys are starting. I mean, these kids some of them are fighting MMA fights. I got guys fighting 10, 11 years old MMA fights, man. Like I can't believe the parents are letting them do it. I think I told you I've got a couple of buddies like, you want to come watch my kid fight? I'm like, you shouldn't be watching your kid fight, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you letting your kid do that, man? But it's jiu-jitsu, I'm all for wrestling, whatever, stuff like that. But it's I told you I started taking jiu-jitsu at 29. Didn't even think about fighting at the time. You know what I mean? Just did it. I mean, just locally, like 6 or 8 months later, not as a joke, but just as a bucket list thing. Mitrione didn't start training until he was 28 or 9, I think. Had never.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I mean, Mitrione, I think, was never, unless he would have gotten not a lucky shot, but knocked everybody out. I just think it was like, even with a lot of these football players, you're just covering up too much ground.
It's too hard, man. You can't. I could still to this day, if my back was good playing basketball, I could still go score 60 points in a league game, because I just know how to play just from learning. You know what I mean? At a young age. But when you start in your late 20s, unless you're in Ngannou or something like that, who's ungodly gifted physically, you know what I mean, or whatever. And even then, it's going to be hard for him to catch up. Of course, when you can touch somebody and they fall down, I guess that's pretty, like him and Jake Paul, the only two people that can touch people and they just fall down automatically. But those are the two. But yeah, these guys, the next generation, it's going to be crazy, man. I don't know, assuming we're still alive in 30 years, I can't even imagine what they're going to have. They're going to have the best athletes and the guys that have been training since they were 5 years old. It's going to be unreal, man.
There's a big controversy between this guy, Shailan New Dan BRK, right? So I bet
that was close.
He beat Derek Maynard, right? So
yeah,
people think that this fight might have been fixed. They're actually looking into it, because I guess an hour before the fight, the odds went from 2-1 to 6-1 for the Russian guy. It was really, and people are blaming James Krause on this, because Krause said he made more money gambling than he's ever made on MMA. And I guess now they're not allowed to do any kind of, I guess fighters can't gamble on them or against them, but I think Krause is retired. So I don't know. Anyway, and Krause had this guy. So this guy's leg gave out within 30 seconds of the fight, right? And his leg's out, just a freak. So then he throws another leg kick. So his leg is clearly gone and throws a second leg kick. So now his leg is completely out. So then he kind of goes into the corner,
and holds his head while the guy's punching him. He's tapping the stripes. Like, and people are saying that he might have thrown the fight. But I don't think that James Krause, knowing James Krause, is not that kind of guy to bet against his own guy. He would never do that.
My guess would be if he indeed was hurt beforehand, maybe word got out that he was hurt. Like somebody he could have told his uncle, his wife could have told anybody, like I just blew my knee out or something's wrong with my leg. And if word gets out like that, there's no telling. I've had people before, dude. I've had to shame, and it's a shame, but it's true. I have bet against a few friends before that were fighting because I knew they weren't training or living right or doing the right thing, you know what I mean, or whatever. And I knew that they weren't taking it serious. And I was like, I would never tell them that, but I was like, I haven't seen him in the gym once for this fight. One time it burned me. The guy goes and knocks the dude out. You know what I mean? He hasn't trained one time. I was like, great. And haven't trained one time, you go out and knock the dude out. But I don't consider that really inside information necessarily unless there's a confirmed injury, you know, if I know a guy's not doing it right. But you told me, dude, I could have made a fortune. I was gambling heavy then too. You told me Rousey was going to lose to Holly Holm. You told me, dude, bet the house on it if you were ever going to bet on a fight.
Yeah, we'll cut it from right here. Yeah, no, I had a feeling that there was a lot. I knew people in the camp, and they said that like Ronda was just not. I didn't think that Holly was gonna. I just knew that, you know, like anything else, it was Ronda Rousey was getting Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. She was giving me Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas vibes of like, you know, anytime people just don't consider the opponent. I'm like, maybe this is time to bet on the opponent because you see all the time.
I knew on Anderson Silva Weidman, I told everybody on Anderson Silva Weidman, their first fight, I said, I don't know what it is, but I just know the way Anderson Silva is acting. It's like he was saying, like they were asking, what if you lose? He's like, if I lose, I lose. Like, you know what I mean? Just saying things like, you know what I mean? Like, and it didn't, I don't know. And plus I knew what's his name? Weidman was really, really good. I don't know what happened to him. It's weird, man. I don't know if it's the injuries or what. Like I don't know if he had success early, but he was for a while there, man. He looked unbeatable at 185. Like he really did, man. He looked unreal. Like when he was beating guys, he cut 30 pounds that one fight. The week of the fight, took it short notice. I don't remember against who, but still beat him. And I was like, that dude is an animal, man. And when I met him in person, I've got a picture with. I was gonna say I've got a picture with me and Weidman. I probably only look 30 pounds heavier than him in the picture. And I'm like, dude, how do you make 185 pounds? He was like 220 at the time or 225, but he was a thick, solid 225, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I'm like, how the hell do you make 185? But
I think one of those things where like Chris was a guy that like, because I knew Chris's coach in college, Tommy Ryan, and he also recruited me. And Chris said that like he had such natural ability that he was able to take top 4 in the country in wrestling without giving it his best shot. He just had that like that thing. Right. When he finally like put it all together, but Luke Rockhold just had his number. Something about Luke Rockhold and him just didn't match up good. I also kind of knew when he was buying cars that like, you know, when he was coming up, he was living with his wife in like her parents' house, I think in the basement.
Yeah, basement or something.
He was so hungry. And then when he got big, I think he had like a parade. Well, I think once you have a parade, it's over. Like they had a Chris Weidman parade in Long Island, and I think that just was.
I feel it. It's like that famous Muhammad Ali saying it's hard to get up. It's hard to get up and run at 6 a.m. when you have a parade scheduled that day or something. I don't know what it was. I knew a guy, man. I used to know a guy back when I was in business, an appliance recycling business. I knew a guy that was he was a lawyer. I actually hired him. But he was a lawyer, Mexican guy in Mexico for the narcotics traffickers. Like he was also a judge and a guy. And he said he got a guy off one time down there, one of the big time cartel guys, and the guy gave him $1 million bonus cash for getting him off of his case or whatever. And he said he spent it in 3 weeks. It was gone. And I was like, dude, how the hell do you spend $1 million in 3 weeks in Mexico of all places? How do you spend that? And he said he had a mariachi band that followed him 24 hours a day and played music for him everywhere he went, a 6-piece mariachi band. So even as he would sleep at night, they would play lullabies or play songs. As he would eat, they'd play whatever. If he was in a good mood, they'd play fast music. And he said he had like that and about 20 hookers and cocaine and all kinds of other stuff. But he said he figured I made $1 million that I wasn't even planning on coming, plus whatever he made for getting the guy off, you know. And he said he figured I'm going to be doing this all the time, getting these guys off. This is easy down here. he said then he realized after about a year of doing that once you get to know too much about their business, they just kill you because you become a liability because you know too much of how it works, their cartel. So if you can't get them in trouble, then one of their rivals will hire you away or will do whatever. He said so. He realized he had to get out of that business because he kept saying his friends getting murdered. Like all his lawyer friends were getting murdered. So he said he had to get out of that business. But then last time I talked to someone that knew him said he's back in it again. So he probably won't live very long. But yeah, that was funny. When he said he had a mariachi band following him 24 hours a day, I was like, that is awesome. Everywhere you go, just a band following you playing.
A Geico commercial or something. I could see that like a
dude.
MC Hammer had that problem. I remember he was on Arsenio, and Arsenio was like, I heard you're just blowing money. And he's like, no. MC Hammer at the time said he had a light in his car that turned on the light to his fish tank in the house. Right. And this is like in the 80s, like when you didn't have shit like that.
Super necessary either way. You definitely got to have a light or switch in your car to flip on the light in your aquarium at your house. You got to.
So this week,
I think about people like that, or Mayweather spent $25 million on a watch so he can show it off. And I always think, man, everyone knows you're rich. Just think how many people you could help with $25 million. Think of the lives you could change. You could change 1,000 lives with $25 million. You really could, you know what I mean, or whatever. And what if there is a God when we die? Do you think he's going to be like, hey, really, that was really cool when you bought that $25 million watch that one time when there's children starving? You know what I mean? Like it just, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I had a show at the Laugh Factory, and he was there. I was opening for Mike Estime, and he had two hot girls next to him and a girl behind him who was attractive, her job was to massage his head for an hour and a half. Right. For an hour and a half. That was her job. Right. The head masseuse.
I wonder if that's a union job. Like, what if they got a tough one to get? Like, it's come with benefits or like what? I know Bob Sapp had a girl. Bob Sapp has such a huge heart, literally and figuratively, but he's got such a huge heart that he hires almost anybody that needs a job. Like he'll give them something to do because he feels sorry for them. So he's got a guy that is a pilot that it's a long story. I'll tell you that off air, but he has a girl that she just follows him around, like wipes the sweat off of his forehead, or feeds him his food, does stuff for him. And I was like, dang, man, Bob's living the high life. And he goes, actually, he found that girl. She was like a 13-year-old prostitute working in one of the brothels or something. He found out about her, met her on the street or whatever. And he was like, in Japan, he's like, how old? Well, yeah, I don't know. Either way, he found out. I doubt he was looking for a little girl, but he said someone that like he saw her, so maybe she's working the streets. And he's like, how old are you? Like she's a little girl. And he goes, you're not doing this anymore. And just like took care of her, like got her like an apartment, like got her a place to live and hired her. And she doesn't, she's not very attractive. So I doubt he's like, you know what I mean? Like doing anything with her. Like he just literally and he said the guy, the one buddy of his said, Bob takes care of so many, he's got a staff of like 14 or 15. And most of them are just people who have had like terrible lives or just the worst things happen to him. They give him a sad luck story. And he's just like, I'll get a job for you. He said, there's a guy that does his landscaping at his house when he's not there. And he said the guy doesn't even show up half the time, but Bob still pays him like $1,200 a week just because he feels bad for him, or whatever. But he said Bob is just, and Bob paid for everything for me the entire time we were there. He kept paying for everything for me. And I was like, Bob, you don't have to do that, man. Like, I'm fine, or whatever. He goes, no, it's good. All the food, everything, everywhere we went, he paid for everything, insisted he paid for everything. So he's, I don't know.
I went to the red light district in Brussels. And like it's like the best looking girls you've ever seen. They're all in the windows. They're all prostitutes, and they're all like a lot of them are really hot. So at the time, I had this show called Kamikaze Comedy, where it's comedy people aren't expecting it. So I paid like $50, and I was gonna just tell her jokes the whole time. And I had my phone, right, and that was gonna be like my bit. But the lady came in and like maybe delete all the shit on the phone, and then she's like, do you want to have sex? I was like, no. And then I like, then that was it. I just fucking wasted money.
Right. Super ego, I'm sure too. I heard that Brendan Schaub tried the same thing. And the lady said, there's some things even money can't buy. Like she was like, listen, I have some standards. I'm not going to listen to Brendan Schaub comedy for 30 minutes for $50. You must be crazy. But we're actually, when we fly back, have you ever been to Dublin? No. I figured you've been there. All places you haven't been. We're trying to fly back from Germany, and me and my girlfriend. For whatever reason, most of the flights back that aren't $1 million they have like a 24-hour layover somewhere in different cities. And I was trying to find some city that would be cool to visit for a day. Since Dublin was one of the options, I was just looking at different places. I was like, I'm going to have to find some place that's cool to go. But it seems like Amsterdam is a huge one that everybody wants to lay over for a weekend. And I'm like, I don't know. I know there's stuff. I don't know exactly what's in Amsterdam, but I know it's trouble. Like I know it's not good, whatever's there, because you hear different things. But I know like Amsterdam, I've heard some people say, oh no, weed's just legal. I'm like, I think there's a lot more legal there than just weed, because people go all the way there just for that. But
weed and prostitution is illegal there. All right, so the fights this weekend, quickly. Adesanya versus Pereira. Israel Adesanya lost to Pereira twice. First time it was very controversial in kickboxing. Second time he got knocked out. I think Israel's going to win. I don't know why. Pereira's only had like 6 fights, MMA. I think Israel's got too much experience. You?
Yeah. I would like to see Adesanya lose. I really would. I've not been a big fan of his since he's humping people in the cage and having titties on one side where he's obviously taking steroids. Not that I can say anything different because I took them, but I never had titties though. The smart money says him just for the experience. But that other guy's got dynamite in his hands, man. He does hit hard, so he only takes him one punch. But I'd say Adesanya probably for the much experience as he has in championship experience. I think he'll probably outlast him and beat him. But I would love to see it go the other way.
Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili. This girl lifted up this little Chinese girl. She lifted up Ngannou like double, like picked them up. She's 150 pounds. She's hitting the pads. She looks like a monster. At this, I want Carla to win so bad. But man, this girl is looking like, I don't know what they did to her when she lost. Like, I don't know what, but she came back.
There were probably numerous things, I would guess. And probably if her family's not held hostage this time, or if she's not been hooked up to some sort of machine that rejuvenates her entire everything, like she's got the body of an 18-year-old or something. I don't know. They do weird things in China. But has she lost to anyone but Rose? Rose is the only one that beat her, right?
Yeah, Rose beat her.
But that's the only one, right? She never lost other than that, I don't think.
The only one.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will beat her again for a while. I don't think this fight or anybody else. I think she looked, I'll tell you what, Rose is good, but I thought Rose was going to get murdered in that fight, especially the first 30 seconds watching. I thought, man, this girl she fights like not to be sexist, but she fights like a man. Like she looks like a dude out there. The way she moves, the way she swings, it does not look like a woman fighting. So.
I hope Carla wins. I really do. Poirier versus Chandler. Oh man. So Poirier's hot sauce is now the official hot sauce of the UFC. I saw that on my Instagram.
I wonder when the UFC would finally get an official hot sauce. They've been needing one for so long. Like all their food has been so bland. I thought, man, are they ever going to get an official hot sauce? But
this fight could obviously go either way. Both these guys have like zero defense. They both get hurt. I don't even know who has less miles on them. I can't even say. They're both just maniacs. I feel like Poirier, I feel like has had the title, and maybe Chandler's a little hungrier. Sean, this one?
I think Chandler, man, he's got more power. And Chandler's the kind of guy that's amazing. It doesn't matter. Chandler's the kind of guy that strikes me as, it doesn't matter if he got knocked out 30 times in a row, he's still going to come out swinging wild and swinging, going for the knockout with every punch, no fear at all, and getting KO. He's not gun shy at all from getting, hit. Like he doesn't. And I think it's only a matter of time. It's kind of like Gaethje. If he can stay in there long enough without getting knocked out, eventually he's going to hit you. And when he does, it's bad news. He's dude. I'll tell you what, he's got balls. Some of them dudes, man, are a different breed. Him and Gaethje and those guys like that, they're just like, they really would. I think Gaethje said it, which is true. Like if this were a different time, they really would be the gladiators out there with swords, fighting each other. Like those are the kind of guys. Those are for real fighters.
Edgar's last fight. He's fighting Chris Gutierrez. He's a really good fighter. It's in MSG. Another guy I'm rooting for is Frankie. One of the coolest guys I ever met in my life. I don't even know what he has to prove. I think he doesn't want to go out on a loss. I think that's his whole thing. Which is, I think, dangerous a little bit because, but I've been following on Instagram. He's wrestling. He's doing everything right. But man, I still can't believe he's still fighting. I mean, he's one like. But remember when he beat Gray Maynard.
That's what I was thinking all the way back to that fight, man. Like, and I'll tell you what, man. I don't, he used to fight 155 pounds. Every time I see him in a picture, it's like he's shrinking. Like he's even smaller than the last time I saw him. I saw a picture somewhere. I don't remember the day. He took a picture with another guy that I know is really small, and that I've seen in person. I don't remember who it was, and he looked tiny compared to him. And I was like, dang, is Frankie Edgar going to fight at 95 pounds next? Like, what is that? He is a tiny guy, man, for any weight class, really. But I hope he wins, man. He's a great guy, man. Class act, great guy, and as ballsy as they come. But yeah, I remember when he beat Gray Maynard. That was one of the craziest fights I'd ever seen at that point, man, in my life. That I don't remember if it was one or two, but they were going at
that was
it, man.
in 2011. That was 11 years ago. This fight, he's lost 4 out of 5. He's been knocked out his last 2 fights. Man, he got knocked out. I understand
why UFC just put him in with CM Punk or somebody, or that Mike Jackson guy. Like, let some of these guys that want to go out, just Diego Sanchez, let him have a win, man. There's enough guys out there somewhere they can beat. You know what I mean? Like, if you can let CM Punk fight a guy who's 1-0 to try to get him a win, you can let Frankie Edgar fight a guy who's decent.
They keep putting Mike Jackson against everybody they want to win.
So that's what they should do. Yeah, just he can just do like a round robin, just everybody beat Mike Jackson on their way out. But
it's like that guy, the Brooklyn Brawler, who was like, remember he used to go like this?
He fought every week. He was losing to somebody. The Brooklyn Brawler was. That was
awesome. He follows me on Twitter. He's a very positive guy for a guy who's lost. Meanwhile, Diego Sanchez was supposed to box Dan Hardy this weekend. It's on the undercard of Marco Barrera versus Ricky Hatton.
Oh God. Bringing out all the young talent. Like, golly, man.
But I guess
some of these guys need to have the promoters. Actually, I had girls fighting with pillows and stuff, so who am I to talk? But like some of these guys, they need to have their promoter's license revoked, man. Putting on these fights with these old guys that shouldn't be fighting, man.
Ricky Hatton versus Marco Antonio Barrera.
Dude, I know that fight would have been awesome in 1989, like, or whatever. Like, that's them guys are. I don't know how old they are, but them dudes are old. You know how old they were off the top of their head? I thought Ricky Hatton was dead. That's how old I thought he was. I thought he was dead.
Dan Hooker is fighting this weekend against Claudio Puelles. He's the guy that leg locked. What's his name? Really quick. Your friend with the old Clay Guida. So Hooker needs to win. Dan Hooker hasn't won in a while. He was
crazy. That's another guy, Dan Hooker. They just keep putting him with killers. Like, let him get a win, man. Let him make a little bit of a comeback. He's a good fighter, you know. Like, just like they give him that. What's his name? Arnold
Allen was his last fight, but before Arnold Allen, they gave him. He had Islam, but before, and then he had that guy, and then he had Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier.
That's what I'm saying. Like they do it like they're doing like Tony Ferguson, just putting him in the top 3 guy every fight. Like, oh, this will be the one he wins. Like, just every now and then.
The undercard, Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann, should be a good fight. Reyes, the guy that was with Jones. Aaron Bleichfeld, who's 23, 9-1, is fighting Meatball Molly. You know Meatball Molly?
No, does not sound like a UFC fighter, though.
No, Meatball Molly McCann. She kicks ass. She's like a lesbian from Ireland, from England. From England. Sorry, people watching. And she beat Hannah Goldie her last fight. Hannah Goldie was the girl that on the way in tried to grab Dana White's cock. Like at the end, like she weighed in, and then Dana gives you like a pound, or whatever. She went to reach for his nuts, and then Dana like.
How long ago was that? I know who Hannah is, but I hadn't heard about that. Was that recent?
No, it was a couple years ago. But Meatball Molly knocked her out. And then she won by sprinting knockout against Luana Carolina. She's huge in England. She's like the biggest thing right now in England, Meatball Molly. So she's always hanging out with Patty the Batty. That guy who looks like Scooby-Doo's friend.
Right. Who's literally the biggest thing in England right now. When you said the biggest thing in England, I was trying to think of anything that was big in England. I should have went straight to him. I couldn't think of anything.
And then what else? So that's going on right now. We talked about the Roy Jones fighting that guy. No days off.
That guy,
Lee.
yeah.
And then so people are Dustin Poirier has the new hot sauce. So Andrew Tate talks about a fight against Conor McGregor.
I love all these guys that want to. It's kind of like me doing a podcast with Theo Vaughn. Like all these guys that want to. Everybody wants to fight Conor McGregor. I've actually seen. I'm not kidding you, dude. Or Jake Paul. I saw a guy on my Facebook page say, "Dude, I'll fight Jake Paul right now," and he's not even a fighter. He's just some guy saying that. Like, I'll be his opponent for $1 million. I'm like, dude, do you know how many other people would do that? People say like Mike Tyson all the time. I'll fight him for $1 million. Like, of course you would. Like, but no one wants to see you fight, you know? Like, hey, I'm going to tell you at Theo's show, I felt bad for his manager. Some guy was right before I talked to his manager, some guy was showing him a picture he had taken with Theo in somewhere in Ohio or something. And he wanted the manager to take his phone back there and ask Theo if he remembered meeting him that night. Can you just do me a favor and take us back there and just ask him if he remembers meeting me this night? He probably forgotten, but I'm just really curious. And his manager sitting there looking at him, he's like, here, just send it to me. And the guy goes, what's your number? He goes, oh, no, just send it on Twitter. Like he said, I'll go back and ask him. Just ask him. I want to buy him a beer later. I know I talked to him that night. I want to see if he wanted to maybe hang out tonight. And I remember thinking, that night I was cracking up thinking, dude, how would you like to be that manager sitting there? And I thought, I'm kind of that guy, like, I'm also in line. Hey, I want to meet Theo. Like I'm, that dude or whatever.
There's a guy. I don't know how he got my number on a cruise ship. I don't know how he got my number. I think maybe I don't know. I don't know how he got my number, but somehow he goes, the guy writes me like a whole list of like a rant. And I write like, thanks. Who's this? Like, and then he writes, oh, I met you on a cruise ship. I got some jokes. I thought maybe if you want them. So I wrote back, cool. Dude, he wrote me like 19 pages of jokes. And like,
most of them were stolen from that guy from New York that wants to
I don't even know who this guy is. Like literally, I mean, the guy writes me like, if I could like, it's just scroll, right? Like
it's blurring out because you're a thing.
He goes, back in my day, nurses were hot. I remember going to the doctor and my uncle saying, don't you be flirting with the hot nurses. What happened? I'm sure that when they're feeding them at nursing school, big nurses out smoking on their break is all we get today. I go, so that was what I get. I go, true. Sorry, who is this?
So I used to be Schaub's head writer. You're like, oh, okay.
My family and I attended a show on a cruise. We enjoyed your show. I think I have a few tidbits that you could have. Then he writes me like 30 pages of jokes. He goes, hey, man, what do you think? I go, sorry, man, but I write my own jokes. And then he writes, not a problem. He's mad. Like, bro.
And they get offended, yeah. Dude, what's his name? Tom Atencio with Affliction. Do you remember him? The guy who's one of the owners of the t-shirt company Affliction. I met him when I was in the UFC. I met him on an airplane. He's trying to talk to this girl in front of her. She's trying to talk to him. And her name was, I think, Sheena. And I asked her, I said, is it true you're good to go with a little funky Cole Medina? Or whatever, that old song, Funky Cole Medina. And Tom Atencio thought that was the funniest thing in the world. Didn't even know I fought in the UFC. I get talking to him. I said, you guys actually sponsored me last fight. I said, good to see you're really keeping tabs on what's going on, or whatever. Yeah. He goes, oh, no, I know who you are, like we're talking. And then after a little while, he's like, he goes, hey, man, I'm going to have you come to my party, the Affliction party, whatever. I'll give you 2 passes, or whatever. So he gives them to me. And so I see him at the event. He's out there talking to somebody. I actually ran into him. I said, Tom, I'll see you tonight. You're still on for the party, right? He was like, yeah. And he leans over to me and goes, hey, you see that dude over there? Like points at some dude. I'm like, yeah. He goes, do not invite him to the show. Don't let him have your other pass. And I thought, well, that's weird to pick out one person out of the crowd and just to say that. Why does he even think that guy would? He goes, dude, do not give that guy that other pass I gave you. And I was like, or no, he gave me another pass for my friend. That's what it was, for a friend. But he said, you're not giving it to that guy, are you? Like, and points him out. And I was like, no, why? He goes, dude, don't give that dude this pass because you got to promise him. I'll throw you out of the party if you give that guy this pass. So then I want to give it to him so bad, you know what I mean? Because he's like, I want to be there, But I'm looking like, does he have a number on it? Is he going to know if I give it to him, or whatever? So anyway, a few minutes later, I'm waiting to get a drink, and that guy comes up to me and goes, hey, man, So he's talking to Tom over there. He's like, yeah, he goes, can you do me a favor and see if you get me a pass to his to the after party? And I was like, oh man, I can't. He goes, well, I saw him give you a couple. I said, yeah, that's me. And it's my girlfriend, even though I wasn't dating by the time. So that's my girlfriend, man. I can't. Well, just see if you can get another one. And I was like, no, man, I really can't. The dude kept following me around. So I go to the after party, which is at some casino in Las Vegas. The dude is standing out there outside, like, hey man, do you have any luck on get me that pass? And I was like, man, I can't do it. He goes, well, I'm just going to walk in behind you when you walk in. I'm going to see if I can sneak in. And I said, dude, you're not walking in with me. No. And he's like trying to tell security guard, I'm with him. Like, I'm saying, dude, he's not with me. Like, you're not with me. Stop. And he kept saying, oh, why are you being a dick? I don't know what to do. He's a stalker. I don't know what the deal is. So I said, the bouncer goes, he's not with you. I said, no, he's not with me. And then the guy's like, dude, who'd you give your other pass to? You got another, no, I know you got another pass. He just keeps at it again or whatever, on and on. So the dude stays down there and stares at us all night, like from across the thing, the Affliction booth was up in this thing in this casino. I don't remember which one. And he's just standing there staring. I said, Tom, what's the deal with that dude down there? Just like, dude, he's a weirdo. Just stay away from him. And so I don't even want to go down and go to the bathroom because I don't want to get harassed by the guy. Like, nervously won't leave. And so I go down there at some point. The guy hits me up and goes, dude, you asked Tom if I could come up just for a few minutes. And I said, dude, I don't know Tom that well. I can't do it. I don't know what the deal was, but that dude apparently like really wanted in that thing. And I wanted to so bad, man. I wanted to give him my pass like even, but I thought that'll ruin a relationship with Tom if I do that, or whatever. But I didn't know.
There was a guy when I was with Piven touring. Some guy came to the show. I was like, hey man, you and Piven want to come to this after hours place? I was like, oh, I'll ask him. Let me get your number. I mistakenly gave my number, right?
Yeah, always a mistake.
Dude, like an hour later, yo man, I got like 3 strippers. We're all ready to party. Tell Piven. Okay, cool. Yo man, I got tons to blow. 3. It just that like song, that Christmas song, like and a partridge. It kept going. Like by the end of the night, the guy had like 19 naked girls, like an orgy, cocaine, heroin, Molly. We were not going anywhere near that fucking party.
And for some reason, he really wants you there. That doesn't make sense. Like, dude, you know what's going on? Why do you care if I'm there? Like,
Piven. He wanted Piven there. He didn't want me, but he kept.
Yeah.
He just kept. Dude, it kept going. Like it just. Me and Piven were just laughing all fucking night long.
You almost have to go at that point to see what's going on. I had the same thing happen I had a guy hit me up out of nowhere, asked how I'd been. I'm like, cool. I said, hey, I don't have this number stored in my phone. Who is this? And he goes, dude, really? And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, lost my contacts, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. And he sends a picture of me and him at an airport. He doesn't look familiar. I don't know who he is. I'm like, okay, cool. So sorry, man. I take a lot of pictures with people. I met you like 6 months ago on the way to San Diego. You were going to see your girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool, dude. Well, I met this doctor. I think he can help you on your back, man. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Yeah, just send me the info. No, man, I figure like, I'll hook you up. Like, well, let's just call him like on a whatever, Zoom or whatever. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be like, I don't want this dude in my life. You know what I mean? And so he keeps blowing me up all the time. Dude, if you don't want help, just say it. So I said, I don't want help. Like I just said it, because he's getting cocky at this point, whatever. Oh yeah, you're a big shot. I forgot. So then I start clowning this dude. Like I start going back and forth, like start making fun. Like what kind of weirdo meets somebody, waits 6 months, hits him up and then blows him up? Like this guy's the best stem cell doctor in the country. He does better than whatever they do. Because I apparently told him I was the one to go to Columbia to do it. He's the one that taught that guy in Columbia. I said, I never even told you who the guy in Columbia was. So what are you telling me? He's his professor. Now like it's but some people like that, man, get a little scary. How like,
oh yeah, no, 100%. No, 1,000. Yeah, there's this couple, there's this mom and son that come to every one of my shows in Vegas, every single, but fighters have restraining orders against them. And I'm like, ugh. Try to be nice, but you're just like.
That's the worst thing you can do. That's what I found out. The best is I used to learn Mitrione is the best. Like Mitrione will be like, hey man, can we get a picture? He goes, yes, you can. He just keeps walking, doesn't actually take the picture with him, or whatever. And I'm like, dude, how do you do that to people? He said, man, have you met how many weirdos out there? He goes, you take one picture, then you got to take 10 because people start stopping. Then this, then before you know it, they're following you around all night. But yeah, it's awesome because they'd be like, hey, Matt, maybe can we get like a post picture? He'd be like, absolutely. And just keeps walking doesn't even.
You ever hear of Connor McDavid?
No.
Connor
McDavid?
Yeah, he's the best hockey player in the league right now. Like they're saying he's better than Wayne Gretzky. He's like the greatest of all time, they're saying. He comes to my show in he comes to my show in Canada, but I don't know who he is. Like I don't watch hockey, Like
Right.
So I'm gonna fuck with him a little bit, a little bit, not much, because I know they say, "Oh, God, McDavid's here," So at the end, he really is like the Beatles of Edmonton. Like he really not even kidding. Like so somebody was like, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And he said no. He's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I gotta get out of here." He had his date with him, and they had friends. And he goes, "If I do it, it's gonna be a mob." And it would have been he would have had to take 100 pictures. But I wanted to take a picture with him. But I didn't want to be like, but I didn't want to ask because I thought because he probably would have said yes to me, I think. Because he was like, "Hey, man, good show." But then if he says no, I'm a complete asshole. I just did an hour show. And if he says yes, then it's like, I'm better than this fucking guy who came to my show who's in the audience. You know what I'm saying? So it was like,
right. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
I told you Bill Goldberg told me no pictures tonight, fellas. Sorry. And I was like, "You think I wanted a picture with you?" That made me so mad. Like Bill, like I said, "Dude, I don't care who you are." Like Bill Goldberg, like, because I didn't even ask. He's like, "Sorry, we got an elevator." I said, "Hey, what's up?" He goes, "Sorry, no pictures tonight, fellas." And I was like, "Cool, dude." Like I wasn't trying to get your picture. Like I don't give a shit, But yeah, I had like 3 run-ins with Bill Goldberg. None of them were good. So the best was when I
met his ex-wife stripping.
Did you?
She was a stripper in Atlanta. And she was like telling me, she's like, "My ex-husband is Bill Goldberg." And then I got a lap dance from her just because I wanted to say that his ex-wife gave me a lap dance.
And he was like, "Who's next?" Like, it
was more about Bill Goldberg than the girl though.
I know. I don't like that dude, man. The best was when he got into it with who's the kid who's doing
Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Matt Riddle, and he's like, "We need to have a talk later." And Riddle's like, "Okay." Like that or whatever. "No, you and I are gonna have a talk outside." Riddle goes, "Okay." Like he's like, he'll whip Goldberg's ass, man. Like Goldberg's like, "I don't think you understand. We're gonna have a talk like that." And he's like, "I understand. Whenever you want, let me know." Like it. But I'd love to see Bill Goldberg in a real fight one time. People like that. Pro wrestlers, I like a lot of pro wrestlers. Some of them really cool, but the ones that believe their own gimmick are like, it's the funniest thing in the world to me, man. I think I told you about that when I used to travel with some of them on that. I was just doing signing, like they had to come to a pro wrestling show, like a local, and then you do a signing, they pay $1,000. So I was like, "I'll do it." And then the pro wrestlers get mad at me because I don't charge for signing pictures. And they're like, "Dude, you're making us look like an asshole." I'm like, "Well, how much should I charge? I just signing pictures, you know. And they're charging like $25 a piece. I'm like, "Dude, I can't ask somebody for $25 for a picture." And I'm not even providing the picture. I didn't have any pictures of me. People were having to do it. Like I felt weird, but they're saying, "Hey, get his signature. He's a real fighter. And he doesn't even charge." They're like saying that in front of the I'm like, "Dude, I feel like an a-hole." I'm like, "Dude, sorry," like, or whatever. But those guys, we'd be on our way to like where I was driving this Vince guy goes, "Tell you what, I don't even want to tell you what wrestler he is, but he's a famous one." He goes, "1987 Starrcade." He said, "Toughest match of my life, man." He said, 3 times he almost had me pin and I kick out. He's like telling about all this stuff or whatever. Finally throw him against the ropes. I try a clothesline. He ducks under. I hit him with whatever his move is. He's out cold. I go to do this. His valet interferes, pulls me off. He's like all this and that. And then he's like, finally goes, "Then I get the pin. Greatest night of my life, man." And he goes, I never overcame so much in a match and won." And I had to finally say it. I said, "Dude, is this like real wrestling? Or were you really fighting?" Or he goes, "No, I mean, but it was scripted, like pro wrestling, like it was set up. But I mean, that's a lot to overcome in a match." And I'm like, I was so confused. I was like, but you guys knew what was gonna happen, right? He goes, "Yeah, but I mean, but my character, overcame so much." And I was like, he goes, "You know what I mean, right?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. Like, I don't know what you mean. I'm completely lost at this point, Like,
Dude,
but yeah, they talk about
funny that Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was my favorite. Like his documentary when he was against the Guerrero brothers. He had like 15,000 Mexican people in there, and he goes, "Everyone rise for the Mexican national anthem. I want to apologize for everything I've ever said to you. Everyone rise." And everyone stands up, and he plays La Cucaracha, which is the cockroach, the bagpipes.
Yeah.
And they said 20,000 seats came fucking flying at him. Dude, WrestleMania 1, like Vince McMahon leveraged his whole fucking everything. Like if it didn't work out, he had like Liberace was there. He had all these crazy people in there, and Roddy Piper refused to lose to Mr. T, like because he wasn't a real wrestler. Like during the match, they had to call an audible and be like, they had to have like Paul Orndorff lose because he's like, "I'm not losing. He's not a real wrestler." Like,
that's what Bill Goldberg didn't want to lose his streak. Whenever he lost his streak, I don't remember what happened, but he was saying, like, we both know who would have really won that fight. Like, dude, number one.
Kevin Nash did it to him.
Yeah, and he was saying, like, we both know who would have really won if that was a real fight, so I didn't want to lose. So I'm like, dude, number one, we don't know who would have won that fight because you're not a fighter. You know what I mean? Or like, we don't know. Number two, your 115 fight streak was all fake. He talks about like it's real. He's like, well, I mean, I'd won 115 straight. It's like, dude, it's scripted. Like what? Like, but the ones that lose track of it are the funniest. Like, it's the funniest thing ever because they really do. I had one of them talking to me about his record one time. He goes, yeah, I was on a little bit of a losing streak there. I lost. He had it all written down, like all his wins and losses. I lost 7 in a row, during that month. That was tough. But then I came back at such and such. He had like this notebook with all his wins and losses written down. I was like, dude, that is awesome. Like, but he really but they, some of them, they really do start believing their own. Oh yeah, their own like gimmick. It's crazy, man. But no. I wish Phil Goldberg would fight Matt Riddle. That would be.
They said Davey Boy Smith, or maybe it was a Dynamite Kid. They were all doing steroids in the back, and he would take the needles and throw them against the wall like darts. Like the whole fucking wall was.
Oh God, crazy.
Anyway, that's our show. I'm going to be in Alaska this week, in Fairbanks, Alaska. I'm leaving tonight. And December 3rd to the 10th, I'll be in Las Vegas at the LA Comedy Club at the Strat. What do you got coming up, Sean?
I'll be going to Houston this weekend to another wedding, one of my fiance's good friends, but don't try to break in my house. Any burglars watching this, because I do have cameras and my son will be here. So all right. Good luck getting in there. So I've got really good cameras everywhere, and I watch. It's funny. I find myself watching my house the entire time I'm gone. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Like making sure nobody's breaking in. Ever since I had that meth head out here. So,
well, Sean, you're the best, man. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you, buddy.